Greetings in love and light to you. So welcome back to my channel. I put out a video yesterday on divine love and how we can embody that and really show unconditional love to even those that do evil in this world, and how to see the unity with those individuals. Well, there are some things that we do have to have discernment about within the New Age spirituality as we are expanding our consciousness and our awareness and are gaining a sense of unity consciousness with one another. Some of the things that I have personally experienced, I have made a note in my journal here, and I have 7 cautions for the New Age, which I have found to be pretty deceptive. And if you are observant, you will find that there are a lot of people making videos on the deceptions of the New Age, or the dangers of the New Age. And I would say that the New Age is really our way of expanding the human consciousness. But with every age and every phase of awareness that we go through, there's always going to be cautions that we have to have. And so as more and more individuals kind of leave their sense of organized religion and enter into this place of kind of a grand universal spirituality within themselves, even though they may still carry those labels of those religious organizations, their mind can't help but kind of extend outward to the New Age spirituality and the information that is out there. But as individuals are going onto, Facebook groups and are joining these New Age spiritual groups, there are some cautions that I want to give people so that they know how to kind of protect themselves energetically. It's something that I have learned myself, and I thought that this would help others. So let's begin. 7 things to watch for in New Age. So number 1 is spiritual bypassing. Now, spiritual bypassing is a term that is being used a lot as people are understanding more and more what Carl Jung was saying about imagining yourself as a figure of light, but actually not doing the work to achieve that state. And the work has to do with shedding the subconscious and kind of going deep into kind of the core and the reasons why you may do some things that are harmful to you or harmful to others, and really unveiling the shadow self so that it's no longer in shadow anymore, so that your consciousness doesn't really hold a subconscious program, but is now everything is in the light, and you truly are in awareness of yourself. So you're no longer kind of just a living condition to the subconscious program that is playing out in your life. And I will be making a video on the kind of the subconscious archetypes that we play. So I'll be getting into that. But I thought that first I needed to talk about this because this can help a lot of people that are going into the New Age spirituality and are expanding their consciousness and are realizing this about themselves. But there are some things that I have experienced being part of that community, and why I no longer really like to involve myself in the spiritual groups. Although I love meeting kindred spirits, there are some things that you really need to be aware of. So spiritual bypassing is when you are moving yourself into your higher versions of yourself without actually doing the emotional work and the physical work within your life to actually achieve it. So this would be an example of someone that has a really terrible relationship with their parents, and uses a way of identifying with a higher entity being or consciousness as a form of escape from that. The best thing that you can do is gain a sense of inner peace. Make peace, come to acceptance with that relationship with your parents, and heal the inner child within you in order to actually truly move into those higher realms of consciousness. Then it's really yours, because you have to deal with everything that you experience as a negative experience. You have to deal with it. You can never just kind of sweep it under the rug. It will always find its way to the surface once again. because it is there for you to deal with. It is part of the experience of growth and learning that each soul is on their journey to do in order to get back to their state of wholeness that they come from originally. So definitely watch out for spiritual bypassing. A word of advice to elven souls and fairy souls: don't use it as a form of escape, but use it as an expression of the higher self and the higher consciousness that you have worked to obtain. And that is what I wish, is I wish that nobody uses their elven otherkin exterior to mask or hide something in their life, but that they actually truly take all of their experiences and they have worked on them, and they have really solved the problems or the issues that they've had, and then so their elven self and their expression of their elven self becomes that sum total of your experiences in your lifetime, of what you have achieved at this very moment in time. And that's really why the elves represent the sovereign beings, because a sovereign being is one that is not afraid of any kind of confrontation or issue within their life, and they actually know and believe in themselves that they have the power to triumph over those obstacles that may be in your lifetime. And so really that is my hope, is that anyone that is projecting themselves as their higher self, which we are going to see in the future as more people are expressing outwardly how they feel on the inside, I want to encourage that. I want people to be able to express their elven soul more on the outside, but I also want to make sure that you're not just escaping something that you have to deal with. Deal with that first and allow your natural self to come through, the more and more stronger of a soul that you get for triumphing over those problems within your life. You can do it. I believe in you. Number 2, a false sense of superiority over others. Now this is one of the real reasons why I no longer am part of a lot of spiritual groups on Facebook, is because I see this superiority complex that happens with people, that either they're totally faking it and they're just trying to get a rise out of others, or they truly come on to groups and they think somehow that's going to gain them the attention that they are seeking if they come on and say, well, I'm above everybody else here and I'm this and I'm that. And that's what we have to be careful about, spiritual teachers too, and gurus. If anybody ever says that they are above you in any kind of way, more so than just in saying that they have perceptions of higher dimension consciousness, but more so just like actual saying like that their soul equals a greater amount of worth or value to yours, or that they are a higher being than you or something like that. Be careful of those. And that is definitely a person that is really kind of searching for a way of finding external love, because they themselves are still seeking for it internally, and they haven't gotten to the place of self-confidence where they don't have to try to dominate over others or show their superiority over others. And eventually what will happen is that natural confidence that you gain within yourself, you'll just kind of naturally exude, and you won't have to kind of force it down people's throats. And you can tell when those people come on and they start to kind of fight others and they say, well, I'm higher than you and I know more than you and I'm at a higher vibratory state. I've met those souls, and the moment that they say that to me, I'm like, okay, so you show me where you really are coming from, that you're really not in alignment with this unity consciousness, because if you were, you would have the empathy to never do that to another soul, because that really does hurt. When people see other souls acting like they are better than others, it hurts them inside. It kind of triggers their own insecurities, and it makes them doubt themselves. And that's actually the true evil of acting that way, and why people really have to be careful about that. That can be a false sense of pride that actually puts you in the lower states of vibrations and really doesn't give you a sense of real inner peace and bliss. You're just kind of masking it temporarily with this kind of superiority complex and a God complex, it's called, over others, which is when you think that you are only God and that others are, figments of your imagination, or they don't really matter as much to you as you do yourself. And that's really a narcissistic personality trait. So just watch out for people who act that way. Please do not engage with them, because they will not stop acting superior over others until they have their own kind of self-realization and kind of a oneness realization within themselves with all other souls. And that takes time for it to happen, and it's best to just kind of leave those souls and have compassion and empathy and understand where they are at that point, where they're really seeking for external gratification than actually trying to help others. They're really seeking for their egos to be stroked. Number 3, watch out for trolls or orcs who like to mess with people. Oh yes, sadly, spiritual groups have been targeted by people who would never consider themselves spiritualists, and they don't really want to kind of perceive the things that are unseen, and they're not interested in talking about consciousness other than to mock it or joke about it. Watch out for those that come deliberately to those groups. I call them the Discordians. They like to cause discord, and they like to just troll others. Be careful of that. Try not to engage too much with them, because they do have a way of kind of zapping your energy and making you feel, badly about yourself and making you doubt yourself. And, of course, it is all working together. We're all part of the collective and everything. But there are souls that are unaware of their connection with others, and they just like to tease others and kind of cause like an energy drainage in others. So be careful of those. And as soon as you get more in tune with your own self and your own higher consciousness, you'll be able to kind of pick out those that are just trolling those groups, and they're not really genuine in their search as seekers of enlightenment, but actually just wanting to cause chaos and fights and problems in a group. And you could tell who those are. And once again, just have compassion and understanding and empathy for where they are coming from, and try not to engage with them as much, because that only causes you your own suffering, and it's not very peaceful of a way to spend your time arguing with someone who just wants to keep on arguing with you. And it's not really a constructive conversation. It's based in their own circular reasoning, because they will only be able to see and perceive things that they are really ready to and willing to at that state of consciousness that they're at. So they won't be able to understand you, and they might fight with you, and it's just not worth it. Unless you like fighting and battling others, but I don't know. You get to a point where you just don't want to anymore. I know I used to in the past like to maybe have like debates and fights with people, and it was kind of fun seeing other people's taken perspectives, but after a while you get to a point where you're just like, I just want to be at peace and enjoy my life and expand in consciousness with other kindred spirits that are kind of learning the same thing you are, and also offer up different perspectives, but they do it in a way that's respectful to you, and it engages conversation rather than kind of triggers, your shields inside of you to block off people just because they're acting like trolls and orcs. All right, number 4. Be careful to brush away feelings or concerns from others and just yell at them to be positive and believe in love and light. This is something that happens a lot in groups. If people come in with serious concerns about the world and something that they observe, sometimes people will just say, oh, just think love and light and positivity. And they will actually say, don't be negative, don't be negative. That is not helping that particular soul. It actually enforces kind of a negative image on that soul. So you don't want to be part of a group that makes you feel that way. So just be careful if you are a person that yells at others to be positive and not think of the negative. just try to have consideration for what that other person is thinking of at that time. Try to put yourself into their shoes and treat them how you would like to be treated. That you wouldn't want to be yelled at and told you're a negative person just because you might have an observation about something in the world that is actually truly going on. There's a way to be positive without being dismissive of other people's feelings. And that's something that happens a lot in the New Age groups, and it can be very hurtful to others. Number 5, this kind of goes along with number 4. Don't think only love and light exists here in the physical 3D, 4D earth realm. We are in a physical experience, and the collective is divided among itself right now. So evil exists in you as a potential and also in others. But in the higher dimensions of realization and awareness of the self, then there is only love and there is only light, because that is illumination and awareness. But when you are in the lower dimensions of earth, yes, certainly there is the opposite of love that exists. So you have to have that discernment, and don't be blindsided. And one of the things that I want to piggyback on to number 6 is that some people will actually target spiritual people and use them because they know that they're always talking about how love is the only thing that exists and higher consciousness ideas. They will actually target you for money and for their own benefit. That happens a lot in spiritual groups. It has happened to me. I was helping a woman trying to get back on her feet, and she had 2 dogs, so I felt really bad for her dogs as well. And she said she wanted to get a car to be able to go to jobs and things like that. And this happened years ago, but later on I found out that she really had no intentions of finding a job with her car. It was really about her just kind of collecting money and not really actually finding work. And I found this out by being friends with her on Facebook, that I never actually got to see the actions of what she was asking for. I know there's a lot of GoFundMe accounts and things like that, and that can be very sincere. But just be aware of those that will prey on those who are spiritually expanding themselves in their versions of awareness of love and unity. There will be those that are not really expanding themselves, but they will see that it's a possibility of taking advantage of others because they're not really part of that oneness yet. They don't experience that empathy, so they don't really care to take from you, and it happens a lot. So be careful of those. Do not give a lot of money to somebody that you do not know and just has a sympathy story. Go ahead, help them once, but don't keep on doing it, because you will start to see that they will depend on you. I always believe in helping people once kind of get back on their feet, but then after that, it's up to them. I mean, they have as much potential of creation within them as I do. So it's completely equal in the idea that they have this potential within them to get back on their feet. So please be aware of that. Do not be taken advantage of, and please don't take advantage of others as well, because this is something that is definitely happening within the New Age community, and it scares people when they see it, and then it makes them think that the New Age is just a bunch of, jokes and is not real. And it makes people think that the New Age ideologies and kind of the spiritual understandings that people are coming to is just a bunch of BS, and it's not really real, because they see how people can make fun of it and make light of it by taking advantage of others. So use discernment. Really, really get to know someone before you really offer your private information to them, and just be aware that there are people at lots of different levels of consciousness and have different intentions within because of it. And number 7, don't get sucked into ego wars with others. Know you can walk away from a group or a person. This kind of piggybacks onto the troll and the orc area, where they were acting like trolls and they're trying to fight with you and just for their own entertainment and amusement. If you ever watch any kind of documentaries on trolls, there are some professional trolls in the idea that they're paid to cause kind of a discord with others and cause the disagreements and the fights that happen within groups. Sometimes they're not even paid, they just do it on their own because that's how they get their pleasure. But of course that comes from a place of unawareness of what they can really create for themselves when they actually want to extend love and kindness to others and not just get off on others' misery and suffering. It also will go with the idea of those that act superior over others. Do not get sucked into those ego wars between identities, because we're all one and we all have that oneness that we share with each other. So once you know that, you don't have to engage in the petty arguments and the fights with others. You could just move on and be a peaceful soul on earth. And really, it's not just about being happy and at peace, it's about time management. Because if you're stuck fighting with others and engaging into conflicts with other souls that just want to troll you, well then you're wasting your time, because you could be using that time to create what you really want to experience and some of the goals that you may have for your own self and for others. So those are my 7 kind of cautions for the new age. The new age is not a deception. It holds valuable truth to the enlightenment and the lifting of consciousness for all of humanity. It is just an example of our awareness and our consciousness expanding and growing. But we do have to be careful when we are part of those communities. And so New Age is not a deception, but there can be deceptions within the New Age that we must be careful about and just always be aware of, because that's part of our growing into our higher versions of ourselves. If we want to become the higher vibrational beings and eventually evolve into the light bodies, then we need to act that way. And that has everything to do with no longer being kind of stuck or dragged down to the lower vibrations and focusing on that. And now you need to lift yourself from that and move on to some more authentic truth that you can experience. And so these are the 7 things that I have noticed in spiritual groups for over like 15 years now. And I am no longer really part of the spiritual groups on Facebook because of that. The larger a spiritual group gets, the more deceptions within the spiritual group happens. And you could be somebody that is part of those groups and you could just completely be aware and discerning about some of the posts that happens and the comments and the things like that that are trying to ruffle feathers. You could be part of those groups. I'm not saying that you have to, you should leave all spiritual groups. They're very helpful to a lot of people. But if you ever feel compromised energy-wise and you're just overwhelmed, just please know that you can always walk away from those groups. They're not important to your spiritual expansion. It's just a way of connecting to other souls and reaffirming some of the things that you are coming to terms with and, you know, are starting to awaken to. But you certainly can have that confirmation within yourself on your own, and just being one with nature and being on your own out there in the wilderness, or just having one friend to talk to one-on-one. You don't have to be part of a large group. But if you are, have fun, but just know and just be cautious about it. I just thought that I would put that out there, because I am not all just about love and light, but I am about discernment and wisdom, and having those things will ultimately lead you to having more authentic love and light to give to others. So, Han and Lei for watching, and I hope to see you all in the next video.